Good evening, Broncos country, and welcome to another Orange and Blue View on Saturday night. Thank you all for being here. We're going to jump into our pregame show as usual, talking about everything you need to know for the Denver Broncos upcoming game tomorrow at 11 versus the Houston Texans. Ron, this is a big game. I mean, if the Broncos can pull this win off down in Houston, it is going to put them in the driver's seat for the playoffs. It really is. How are you doing tonight? How are you feeling about this upcoming game, Ron?
Yes, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm so happy to be here with you on Saturday as always. So yeah, I'm doing well, Thomas. Yeah, and as far as this game is concerned, this is a playoff game. You know, a few of the players have alluded to it. It feels like, a playoff game, especially in the fact that there are a lot of playoff implications coming from this game. So you're right. The Broncos definitely have to try to put their best foot forward, and execute as well as they can to come out of Houston with a victory. But yeah, big. This is a big thing. Big game here tomorrow.
For sure. I'm looking forward to it. I actually don't want to bet against the Broncos anymore this year. I mean, I did against the Browns, and I was definitely sorry I did, although happy that they won for sure. I would rather be wrong in my prediction than have the Broncos lose. So I'm excited for this game coming up early morning. I actually like the earlier games, Ron. I don't like the wait until the afternoon. I want to get it over with. So although primetime is fun, but let's grab a few people in the chat. Flazify was in here early today waiting for us. I'm glad that you came in early waiting for us. Thank you so much for dedicating your time to listen to the show. We're very happy about that. Flazify says just win, whatever it takes. Absolutely. And I've been saying that. They've done just enough to win a few times, although I think they did more than enough to win against the Browns. That was a pretty good offensive showing against a great defense in my mind. And, the defense came up as well. We got David Yunkin is coming in saying, evening, Thomas and Ron. It's our defense that I want to see. We need to slow down the deep ball. If we can hold them to about 250 yards, we might have a chance. David, I want to see the defense come up big as well, but I really think this is the game where the Broncos offense really starts to show up in a big way. And we'll get into that in a little bit. I've got some numbers for you and some reasons why I believe that. I mean, we've been watching the defense play well and watch the special teams play well. I think it's the offense's turn to really come alive, statistically showing them what they can do, scoring some touchdowns. And this is the game to do it. Ron, what do you think?
Yes, I agree with you, Thomas. Thank you, David, for coming in. We appreciate you, my man. And you're right to a degree, David. We've been seeing the defense shine. So the defense has been doing its thing with the takeaways. Even the red zone defense has come up clutch as well. So I'm not so concerned about them. I'm concerned about this offense, and particularly opening up this offense. I want to see more spreading the ball to your playmakers, getting people open in space. And this is the opportunity for the Denver Broncos to do that. I mean, with the past defense of the Houston Texans, I mean, I think they're near the bottom, I think, in pass defense. So there's going to be opportunities for this offense to shine. And again, we'll get into some of the marquee matchups and players to watch, but I want to see Judy more involved, Mims, right? And this is a perfect game for that to happen.
Yep. And Dylan Von Arks, our staff writer, coming in. Thanks for being here with us, Dylan, saying, sup, Broncos country. Make sure you hit that like button on the way in, share on all platforms, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for the advice, Dylan. Appreciate the reminder. Appreciate you being here with us on Saturday night because, it's Saturday night. There's plenty of things to do, but being here with us, it makes us happy. So thank you very much. Turtle's coming in. Turtle 4614. Beat the Texans. Go Broncos. Yeah, thank you for that comment. And then Guaranteed says, talking about Singleton here. Singleton gets a lot of hate for missed tackles, though leading the team in this stat. Moreau's playing pass coverage well, but his tackling worries me. Has anyone else noticed this? I mean, I've noticed missed tackles. It's one of the most frustrating things to me when I'm watching football is missed tackles. And you're right. Yeah, I've noticed several people missing tackles, Singleton being one of them and Moreau being the other. How about you, Ron? Have you noticed anything like that?
I have. Thank you, Guaranteed, for coming in. I have noticed it, especially with Singleton. I think it was. I know in this 5-game winning stretch, it has been noticeable at times, but I think more particularly, I noticed it in the Minnesota game. There were quite a number of missed tackles. Again, and Minnesota wasn't known for running the ball like they were, and you know, Alexander Madison and Chandler, they were getting 8, 9, and 10 yards at a time. So, that definitely needs to be cleaned up. I'm a little concerned there as well on Guarantee, but hopefully that can get cleaned up as the season progresses. Now with the Texans, they do have Singletary and with the running game that can maybe pose some problems, but I need this team to hold up in coverage for sure, because with Stroud, with Tank Dell, Nico Collins, this passing attack, although young, has been very, very good. And so that actually leads to your next point of the pass coverage. And I'm going to get into that here shortly with Moreau, because he's actually one of my players to watch. And I kind of want to see how he holds up in coverage with this passing attack. But those are actually very two good observations there.
David McGilrath coming in as always. Thank you so much with 11-6. That's all he has to say. 11-6. And you know what? I'm not going to bet against that anymore. Like I said earlier, the Broncos just have a different way about them anymore, and now they believe they can win. So thanks for being here, David. Appreciate it. Yes. Got Monica Rapasso coming in. I hope I said that right. Saying, "Hey guys, Denver Junkie here. Our D needs to get those tackles. Those will be huge. Plus, again, I'll say it more, Mims, please. Absolutely. This is a game that Mims can have a big game, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it. I found a couple things in here that I think is favorable. So let's hope that let's hope you're right, that he is getting more involved." Excuse me. Sorry about that.
Yeah, thank you, Monica, for coming in with that. And we've been alluding to kind of you've been alluding to kind of the two weaknesses here, right? Of the tackling, which is kind of leading into that poor run defense, and just opening the offense up, right? Again, to my point earlier, having your playmakers like Mims evolve. I want to see Mims as well. I mean, and it's just so, I guess it's so frustrating for me, Thomas. Again, I go back to that game against the Washington Commanders. I believe it was week 2, where we saw him shine. Not only, obviously we know what he does, in special teams as the returner, but, putting him in this offense, that big play that he hit him for the touchdown. I mean, so again, this is a game that should happen in. I'm hoping that they can use Mims more.
Yeah. I'm going to say hi to Ernie Mays. He's coming in saying, "Hello, Thomas and Ron. Go Broncos country only." As always.
Thank you,
6 in a row tomorrow. Thanks, Ernie. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Got Dave Glassman coming in. Broncos country. Let's ride to the Super Bowl. Awesome. And David's coming and asking how I'm feeling. I'm feeling a lot better. Still got a cough, still tired, but thank you for asking. Hopefully I'll be a little more lively than I was on Wednesday. I was feeling pretty down. So thank you for asking, David. Greg Smith's coming in saying, "Good evening, Thomas, Ron, and Broncos country. Denver Broncos for life." And we got Jonathan Salway coming in saying, "Good evening to everyone." Chris is coming in with a buckum. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
And then we've got Phil McLaughlin supporting us with Facebook stars. So thank you so much for the support, Phil. Really, really appreciate that. Of course, as always. And Phil says, "Good evening, Thomas and Ron. I'm trying to understand why we activated DiNucci. I understand he cannot be emergency QB. Also glad to see Brandon Johnson back. Buckham, Mile High, Huddle for Life, and Go Broncos." Yeah, it's a bit of a head scratcher for me. I made the joke on Twitter about how they're anticipating being up so far that they can just use whatever quarterback they want. But I know it's a joke. I'm not really sure why they activated him, unless they're planning to make Stidham inactive for some reason. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's a necessary thing. I don't know. It's interesting. It is interesting that they did that, and maybe they're gonna deactivate Stidham and just put DiNucci out there for whatever reasons, just in case, to see if he can play. I don't know, Ron. What are your thoughts on that?
I've been trying to figure this one out today as well, Phil. I don't know. Maybe someone was trying to get him possibly, and they wanted to act. I don't know. I've been trying to find out, read around on Twitter, see what's going on, but nothing's coming up as to why they activated him.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know, but
Yeah.
thanks for the support, Phil, with the Facebook stars. Really appreciate that. Doug Tessier's coming in saying we're going to crush the Texans by 10+ points, guaranteed. Take it to the bank. All right, I like the enthusiasm, Doug. Appreciate it. Pearl Heaters dropping in to say hi. Thank you so much for being here. And we also have Lawrence Rivera coming in with some Facebook stars. So thank you for that, Lawrence. Appreciate it. Appreciate the support. Saying knock on glass. Save our, I don't know. I'm not sure what that means, Lawrence, but hey, thank you for being here. Thanks a lot for the support. And I look forward to the game. I really am. It's weird, Ron, because early in the season, after the first few losses in that debacle, I wasn't looking forward to watching the games. I mean, I was watching them and I was, reporting on them, taking a lot of notes, but I was never looking forward to it. Now I am. So let's get this going here. And then Mike Edel's coming in. Thank you for the super chat, Mike. Really appreciate it as always. Saying, hey, Thomas and Ron, glad to see you're feeling better, Thomas. A little nervous about this game. Go Broncos. Yeah, Ron, what makes you nervous about this game?
Thank you, Mike, again for coming in. And I am just I'm a little nervous as well, just because of this passing attack. This passing attack of the Texans, they're very, very aggressive. And again, I do trust the Denver Broncos secondary to come through, but it's really going to come down to, and we can get into some of our keys here with this comment here, Mike. I'm glad this was a good segue, Mike, to kind of what we probably want to talk about here. But Mike, one of my keys here is to contain Stroud. So keep a spy on Stroud, apply that consistent pressure, just because, we've seen him and some of the film I've seen, we've seen him move out of the pocket and just throw the ball way down the field to Tank Dell, to Nico Collins, Noah Brown, Dalton Schultz, although he's out for this game. So you have to try to find a way to knock him off his spot, pressure him consistently so he doesn't go and get those chunk yards. That, I think that's kind of where a little bit of my nervousness lies, because they can score points. I believe it was the game against Stroud had 3 picks. I believe it was one game. I think it was against the Arizona Cardinals, if I'm not mistaken. But yet they still found a way to win the game. So just things like that. And if the Broncos, Mike, can keep it close, if they can keep it close, I trust this team, with the final drive. If they need a field goal, if they need if they need a touchdown, I do trust this team to come up clutch and make that play. But yeah, that passing attack definitely does concern me a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and Stroud's been pretty good with the ball, other than getting out of hand there in that one game. He's been pretty solid about keeping the turnovers low. So for me, it's the Broncos have been living off the turnovers, and it's been great. But if Stroud's careful with the ball and they can't create any, it's up to the offense to take charge, and that's what makes me a little bit nervous. If the Broncos can't grab those interceptions or get some fumbles, get those takeaways, can the Broncos offense come up big enough to win? That's what worries me the most. But I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of reasons why you should be confident in these Broncos, because they're actually turning out to be a fairly good team, which was, I would have never said that earlier in the season. So there's some things to like. I'm also going to just say hi to Daniel Krause coming in with a Facebook star. So thank you so much for the support. Really appreciate that for sure. I'm going to grab one of my keys, which I know this is going to seem boring because we all want to open up the passing attack, right? We all want to see Russell Wilson, get our money's worth for that contract, so to speak. But the Broncos really have to establish the run early. And the reason, and they don't have to be super effective at running it, but they've got to be committed to it, because I went back and I looked at all of the games that the Texans have played in. If their opponent at least had 10 designed runs in the first half, we're establishing that run, not quarterback scrambles or quarterback runs, or whatever, but like design running back runs. They were 2-5 against those teams. But if the opponent came in and just didn't worry about the run right away, had less than that in the first half, they're 4-0. So they have to at least show that they have a semblance of a running game and be committed to it, because one, you really want to have a balanced attack, but two, you can open up the play action and things like that with a solid running game. So even though it sounds boring, and I'm going to get to my more exciting stuff too, but they really need to focus and get that, hand that ball off to Javonte, really establish that ground game.
Yep, that's a good one. It's a good one. I'm going to grab a few more here. Doug Hasler coming in here. Thanks. He says, I say he throws 2 picks. Well, yeah, again, given how opportunistic this Broncos defense has been, I wouldn't put it past them. That can definitely happen. Let's see here. And we got a few predictions here, which I'll get into. Well, get to Craig Tate here. Thank you, Craig. He says the spy should be Monito. Yeah, that's definitely a good one to kind of be the spy. I know he was spying a lot with Patrick Mahomes. So that would definitely be good. And then Deuce from NO. Thank you, Deuce. He says, pressure, pressure, pressure. Yes. Pass rush must get it going. Big key to secondary success. #Buckham. Yes, exactly, Deuce. That again, that is my takeaway of applying the consistent pressure. And I want to go to my other key to victory, which you alluded to near the end, Thomas, unless as far as the play action off of the run. I agree. I think Broncos definitely need to be committed to the run, early and as often as they can, which will set up that play action pass. And of course, with play action, attack the middle of the field, go deep. Because again, you're talking about a bottom ranked Texans passing defense. So the opportunities to go deep, play action will be there. Again, get all your skilled players involved, right? Judy, Mims, Sutton, Troutman, Brandon Johnson coming back from IR. Those opportunities will be there. So, I'm expecting off of that run, Thomas, for that play action to open up. And once it opens up, again, we could see something similar to how we did with Washington, the Washington game. The Broncos jumped out to, I believe it was 14-3. And those were some play action passes. So I would like to have something similar with this game to, once they, go pedal to the metal, let's not take the foot off, just keep going. And again, you can help establish the run to do that.
Absolutely. Douglas Wall, thanks for being here tonight. Appreciate it. Saying hello, Thomas and Ron. Why so nervous? CJ is still a rookie, averaging 3 rookie mistakes a game, most resulting in a turnover. Broncos defense is averaging 4 takeaways a game. We have a top 3 secondary. Yeah, you're right. And this brings me to my next point about being a rookie. And it's interesting when you look back at the Texans game, and I think it has a lot to do with, it's a new coach. They're a rookie quarterback. They may have a little bit of a, not a confidence problem, but maybe they can be affected a little bit easier. But I went back and I saw that whichever team that has played, if a team that's played the Texans scores a touchdown first, they typically win the game. Where if Houston scores first, they typically win the game. It's really interesting. I mean, I think it has to do with if the opponent gets ahead by a touchdown, maybe they start to not panic, but it does impact them a little bit, right? So the Texans have won every game where they've scored first, and when the opponent scores first, they've lost 4 games out of the 6. So I think the Broncos really need to have those good scripted plays, not make mistakes, go down the opening drive and really, show them that their offense is here to play, go score that touchdown and really put the pressure on a rookie quarterback early on to get this team kind of flustered. Really, I don't know if it affects their psyche or what, or if it's just a coincidence that the team was just better and they went out and just scored at will. That really doesn't make any sense to me. But Broncos really have to focus that opening drive. In fact, I would almost even take the ball. Like if you win the toss, just they've been deferring every time. I'd almost take the ball and go down there and score that touchdown and just put the pressure right on that rookie quarterback right away.
Yeah. But I think to your point of them taking the ball first, remember when they've deferred, I believe it was the game against Buffalo and the game against Minnesota, that first drive ended up in a Broncos takeaway. So of the opposing team, So again, I think it's to the last comment. Again, it's still. I think we're more nervous. Again, the defense of the Broncos, they're doing their thing. We're not too concerned there. It's what can this offense do? And then if you get into a point where it's a shootout, can you match blow for blow with the Texans? Again, the offense of the Broncos, as good and sound I have had as they've been recently, we're dealing with a heavy passing attack, and it's again opening up this offense of the Denver Broncos to match fire with fire if it gets to that level. I think that's kind of where my nervousness comes into play there.
Phil McLaughlin's coming back in with more Facebook stars, so thank you for the support, Phil. Saying, I was happy to see Brandon Johnson, and Kroll coming back. I think Kroll is a better receiver between Troutman, Manhurst, and Adkins. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I'm glad to see Brandon Johnson back. He had a great camp, and he was actually playing pretty well. Had a great preseason. I thought he was going to be a really, quite a useful target for Russell Wilson, and then he got hurt, which is unfortunate, but now he's back. He seems to be all ready to go. I'm happy about that. I hope they mix him in. You might not see a lot of Brandon Johnson this first game back. They might not give him as many snaps as you would see, going down the road a little bit. And then Kroll, man, he's impressive to me, from what I've seen. He just needs a little bit more experience. I saw him get open a couple of times when he did play that one game, first game he was activated, and he just wasn't able. Russell didn't see him or whatever. But I'm excited to see what he can do. They weren't happy with Adkins, obviously, and so that's why they're bringing Kroll up and deactivating him. But I'll say Troutman, that catch that he made last week was a thing of beauty, man. That was amazing. And, Manhurst isn't quite a receiver. Obviously, he's more of a blocker. But, I'm interested to see what Kroll's got to offer for sure.
Yeah, thank you for coming in with this. And I agree. I'm interested as well to see what Kroll has. Again, to your point, Thomas, I've seen plays. Kroll's open. Not just Kroll. I think there have been a lot of receivers that have been open. Russ just kind of has missed them. But I'm also happy to see Johnson back in the fold. Again, he's second in receiving touchdowns behind Sutton. And so having that receiving threat come back is great. Now, I don't expect them to have too much of an impact because they're probably going to, ease him back into the lineup. He's actually one of my stat projections. I'll save it for later, but I'm very excited to have another receiving threat coming back.
Nice. Yeah, and whoops, I grabbed the wrong one here. Lawrence came in with some Facebook stars. It's just he just wants to say Russ is winning right now in life. He's got a kid on the way. He's healthy and paid and just loving life. And yeah, it really shows. I mean, he seems like he just is so positive. And I've heard that people bring that they talk about that. Players about his positivity and how that's helped. And I mean, it's true. Thanks for the Facebook stars. I think a lot of people are jealous of his success in his life. And so, they like to badmouth him and everything, but he seems like a great guy. Seems like I happened to be at camp not in the year before and saw him out there with some of the military folks and what he did. He seems like a good guy, it seems like a really good guy. So I appreciate the support there. I'm going to jump to my next key. This is the more exciting one, right? And this is really to attack deep, but specifically attack the deep left of the field in the passing game. And this is why I say that. Well, number one, the Texans have given up 30 explosive plays on the season. So 20 plus yards in the passing game. These explosive plays, 30 of them. That's quite a few per game, almost approaching 3 per game. But if you look at the actual areas where these passes have really been effective, the deep left of the field is they're so vulnerable. They're giving almost a 50% completion to that area of the field, which is so much higher than the NFL. The NFL average is 37%. So obviously they're getting open, and the quarterbacks are getting the receivers to the ball in that area. They've not had an interception in that area of the field, knock on wood. Do that just so that doesn't happen this weekend. And they're giving up about 16 yards per attempt to that area of the field. So that is a location where they really need to attack deep. And if they can get that running game effective, and they can get that passing, play action passing, that's even going to make that better. But I would not be afraid to attack that area of the field. You got Cortland Sutton, who is, taller and is able to out jump pretty much anybody they got on that in that secondary, in my opinion. And then you've got Judy, you've got Mims, explosive players. I would go after that area of the field and see if you can get a couple of those explosive plays, especially early in the game. Really kind of open that up and really show them this offense is for real.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, those are some good analytics, Sean Payton. You hear that? Leading up to tomorrow, that's the recipe for that should be proof to open up this offense. So that's very encouraging. I'm going to get into some of the marquee matchups next year, Thomas, and which you just alluded to. I'm going to pick one: Cortland Sutton versus Derek Stingley Jr. Again, we know the Derek Stingley Jr., one of their top cornerbacks from the Houston Texans. But I think Cortland Sutton will definitely win the matchup. Stingley is a very good, solid corner. But we know Sutton has been a monster this season, going back to his Pro Bowl year, grabbing those 80-20 balls, near the sideline and in the end zone. So I expect for Sutton to come through big when the ball is thrown to him, just completely, mossing Derek Stingley Jr. There may be a few times that Stingley does, break up some passes and whatnot, but I do expect Sutton to come down big. So just watch out for that matchup for sure.
Yeah. And really Sutton could be having a much better year, but he's made mistakes himself. Like he's dropped balls and, and I'm not knocking Sutton, don't get me wrong. He's had some amazing catches, but he's also missed a few that his season could look a heck of a lot better, even though it already looks really good. I mean, he's doing great, but if he can cut down on some of those mistakes, I think you're right. That's going to be huge. I think another area that's going to be huge is Zach Allen versus whoever they're going to slot in there at right guard, because they're down to their third string right guard now, because Kendrick Green was lost and Kenyon Green, both of them were lost in that interior line. And I think this rookie, which is Juice Scruggs, I think he's was the third in line early on in that depth chart. So, they lost Titus Howard just, recently as well. Yeah. So Juice Scruggs is going to have his hands full with Zach Allen. He really is. I think that's who they're going to start. I think Zach Allen could have a really big game because he's gotten better and better, and it doesn't always show up in the box score. You don't always see, how, a bunch of sacks or anything like that. But I really think Zach Allen can have a monster game against a rookie right guard. They're going to have to give him some help, which would, obviously open it up for the edge rushers to do their thing as well. So I'm looking for Zach Allen to really pop this weekend and show the world that, he's as good as we see on tape, on tape and on film in the game. It might even, it's going to show up in the stat lines even more.
Sure. Yeah. And then that actually leads to another marquee matchup that I have. You mentioned Titus Howard's out. So yeah, his replacement versus, the D-line, Jonathan Harris and those folks. So I'm expecting, just to see how that left side of that defensive line looks. Will they be able to, hold up and pressure and contain? With Titus Howard out, I know he was very good when he was starting, But now that you kind of have a weaker right tackle there, I'm curious to see how that side of the defensive line holds up. They should perform well. They should definitely perform well.
I'm just going to grab this. I missed it. Lawrence came in with Facebook stars talking about his original thing with Russell Wilson, saying Sean was wrong for him to stop visiting the hospital. Yeah, I mean, it's true. Let them do their thing, support go out there and, be in the community and help people.
Yeah.
I mean, the kids look up to these folks and, don't be like Jamal Adams, who's attacking people on Twitter. Be like Russell Wilson, who is, going out there and living a good life and helping people. So, yeah, definitely. Thanks for the support. All right. My next, for me, the next matchup that I want to see is Miners, who's playing outstanding.
Yes.
He's in line for an All-Pro award, maybe
Yeah, for
second
sure.
team because they don't know him that much, but he really is playing great versus
Mhm.
Sheldon Rankins, and particularly in the running game. If they can run behind Quinn Miners like they have been and really establish that running game early, that's going to open up that passing game so much more. So I'm looking for Quinn Miners to be that solid performer that he's been all year, and really push around Sheldon Rankins and open up some holes for Javonte and obviously P Ryan when he's in there giving him a break. So that's a matchup to me that I've been watching Quinn Miners all year, and I think he's a matchup problem for most of the defensive tackles that are in there. So let's see what he can do this game, because it can be a hugely important game, especially early on.
Yeah, that's a good one, Thomas. I've been watching Quentin Miners, I think every game, and he's such a beast. He's such a mauler. Like just creating those lanes, those gaps for P Ryan and Javante. I just love watching him play. Like
Yeah,
he's such
fun.
a good find, yeah, for the Denver Broncos. And I'm glad the Denver Broncos. I'm glad he's on our team. But yeah, that's a very good matchup for sure.
Yep. I'm going to grab
And
this real
then
quick
we're gonna wrap it up.
because
Yeah.
I just Douglas Walls, one more win closer to Luke Patterson shaving his head and beard for the Broncos winning out. Yeah, he said he would. And you know what? It would be fun. I think it would be awesome to see that happen. I really don't think the Broncos can win out. I think he's safe, but I think they can go 4-2 over this last stretch and be right in the playoff race. So, but it'll be fun. I would love to see that, do a show on Wednesday night with Luke without his hair and beard. That'll be interesting to see. So we'll keep our fingers crossed just for that fun to see that happen. But you can check us out on Wednesday night, Mile High Insiders, Luke and I doing that show. So, and speaking of, Luke's going to be jumping in for you, Ron, the Detroit Lions that Saturday. So he'll be on Orange and Blue View as well. So we'll see. Hopefully they can pull a win out in Detroit, which is the one I'm a little bit worried about to, break that 8-game winning streak that you were betting on.
So you're worried about Detroit? I know we'll get into that, in a few weeks. But are you really worried about Detroit? I'm actually not
I am,
too
yeah.
concerned about Detroit, quite honest.
I'm only worried. I think they're a solid team. It's on the road in Detroit, and the Broncos have historically not played very well in Detroit for some reason recently. So I'm a little bit worried about that, but they're a solid team. However, if that's their only loss, I'm fine. That's the game that if you're going to lose a game the rest of the way out, that's the one to lose. That doesn't affect your playoff seeding because NFC team other than the record. So if they do lose there, I'm not worried. If they can make it up, and only win the rest of them, they've definitely got a spot in the playoffs. So I'm not worried about it in the playoff seeding, but I am worried about a loss there because it's they're a tough team. I know they're Detroit. I know it's Detroit. They haven't won a playoff game since 1991 and only been won one since 1957. So you in your mind you're like, it's the Detroit Lions. They're a solid team. But anyway, back to the Texans.
Yeah. So I'll get into my last marquee matchup for tomorrow's game, and that is Mike McGlinchey versus Will Anderson Jr. That's going to be a very good matchup. It's a bit concerning, I think, for me in the sense that when I look at the film, Anderson does win his matchups very often. So the Broncos have to do their best to limit him. Now, McGlinchey he's been doing better as of late, with this 5-game win stretch as a pass protector. He's not allowed a sack, so that's good. But it's still good, or would be wise on the Broncos to have extra blockers in there just so that Will Anderson doesn't wreak havoc to kind of help McGlinchey out. But I do expect with this matchup, maybe Will Anderson may come in and affect a few plays, but you know it's good what we saw last week with the Cleveland Browns, how essentially, Myles Garrett was neutralized.
Yeah.
So, I would expect kind of a similar showing from this offensive line, and Zach Strife to kind of help neutralize Will Anderson. But that's going to be a really fun matchup as well.
Yeah. And McGlinchey's been playing a lot better as of late, I think. And I really have been saying this for a while. Part of that has to do with the fact that he was hurt in camp. He didn't get any playing time. The offensive line needs to gel. They need time together to really, it's not an individual. And although he's making individual mental mistakes, but the cohesiveness, being in sync they have to play together for a while. Now they've been together for a while. They've practiced for a while. They've been healthy, knock on wood. And, this unit's been, together for several weeks, and it's starting to show. Even Ben Powers is playing better. McGlinchey's starting to play better. So you're going to see individual performances that look better, but it's because the team, as a unit, they're continuing to get better and more cohesive and understanding where everybody is. So I hope I hope they give him a little bit of help, but I also hope that he continues to improve and going down that road that he has been, because I really liked it. Yeah. All right, I'm going to give you a player to watch. Obviously, we've been talking about him this whole time. Marvin Mims, not just on special teams. I mean, I think he can have an impact on special teams because he has been, but I expect to see him catch at least one big pass on offense. He's going to be more involved on offense, catch one big pass that, that he's done before. He's kind of been on that, getting more and more playing time. I think they're going to get him the ball. And, with that defense of the Texans, that pass defense, he has a chance to really get some yards after the catch, make a run. I really think they should really watch out for Mims, because he's kind of a forgotten man, really, after, having that big game, like you said, against the Commanders. And then he really hasn't done much on offense. And then, boom, here you go. This is a time to open him up. So that's my guy.
That's a good one. I'm going to disagree with you a little bit in the sense of he's the forgotten man, because I believe this comment reflects who's the forgotten man. Thank you, Rodney Garcia, for coming in here. Appreciate it. He says Judy needs to show up. You are exactly correct, Rodney. And I believe Judy's a forgotten person here. And that's why I've selected him as my player to watch. This should be a very good game, almost a breakout game for Jerry Jeudy. So Jerry Jeudy should eat with all kinds of, they should use them all over the place, right? Screens, crossers, deep, even in the middle of the field. Just because this pass defense isn't so great. And there's going to be, I know Sutton's going to come down with a lot of these balls, but there's still going to be some defensive focus on Sutton. And that's going to allow Jerry Jeudy to come in and shine. So I'm expecting Jeudy to come in and, maybe even have a touchdown tomorrow or two, right? I'm expecting Jerry Jeudy to feast. They should definitely feed him often.
And Jerry Jeudy is one of my stats projections, so we'll get to that in a little bit. I think you'll be happy with what I've got to say, Ron. So we'll see. We'll see if anyone else is happy about it. But I'm going to grab Dominique Martin coming in here saying Orange and Blue View rocks. Well, thank you for the compliment, Dominique. Appreciate it, and appreciate you being here on your Saturday night. Right? Saying, hey, Tom and Ron, mile high salute to my Broncos family. After we win tomorrow, I hope the league is finally on notice. Mile High Huddle for life. Go Broncos. I think people are starting to notice already, right? Yeah. I think they really are, but they still have that kind of doubt, and I had it too. I had it, and now I'm done doubting. They're playing well. They're finding ways to win, but they look back and they see those first 3 games. They see that 70-20 debacle that happened in Miami, and they still doubt a little bit. If they go in and win this game in Houston, everybody has to know that they're a playoff team. But at that point, like they're not only, I mean, they jump to like a 60, whatever, 7% or 61. I can't remember chance of making the playoffs, but they also control their destiny when it comes to the Buffalo Bills, the Cleveland Browns, and the Houston Texans. If they win, those are three legitimate playoff, potential playoff hopefuls, right? And they have the head-to-head matchup with them. So even if the league doesn't believe that the Broncos are, a great team or a good team, they have to believe that they're going to make the playoffs at that point, because when it comes down to it, if they all have the same record, the Broncos are going to advance and they're going to be all out on the outside looking in. So, and I think if they win tomorrow, I think they're pushing for more than the 7th seed. I think they're pushing for 6th or maybe even a 5th seed. That's the confidence I have in them right now. And I'm glad. It's been a long time, Ron, since I've had that much confidence in this team. So
yeah, thank you, Dominique, for coming in. Yeah, so I believe the league is already on, the Broncos have put the league on notice already. You don't win 5 games in a row by accident. And then you have to look at the quality of the opponents, right? These are playoff caliber teams with winning records. So that the Broncos have done it and have shown that they can go toe to toe with, anybody in the playoff picture. I think what's causing a little cause for pause for some people is because you're right, Thomas. That 70-point debacle in Miami still rears its ugly head. But I think they're seeing the yardage numbers for Russell Wilson not, being reflected out in the wash. Now, he's playing well, obviously, right? 20 touchdowns and just 4 interceptions. So Russell is still playing well. I think they're still a little bit hesitant because they want to see more from Russ. And again, us as fans, right? We're seeing Russ Seattle moments come.
Yep.
Russ is out there scrambling, running the ball himself, finding the open receivers. But I think because, we're not seeing that on a more consistent basis as we did in Seattle, I think that confounded with that 70-point game. And the fact that the Broncos now this season are doing well as opposed to the past several seasons, I think it's still a little bit cause for pause for a lot of the national media. But again, if the Broncos go out and win Sunday, the Broncos can shut everyone up.
That's right. Absolutely. All right, I'm going to jump on to my next player to watch, and I talked about it early on, but it's Javonte Williams for me. And I know we've been talking about the passing game, and this is where the passing game opens up because, I got Wilson as one of my players to watch as well, but this is where the passing game. Javonte Williams needs to grind out just like he's been doing. Just grind out those yards. Get 3 yards, set up a better second down, and I think he's going to be more of a key to this game than people realize. He's may not have a huge statistical game, but setting up that run and grinding out those yards early in that game is really going to help that offense, even later in the game, even if they're not running it so much, even if they're passing it. But I'm looking forward to Javonte Williams doing his usual self and really just grinding out those yards like he's been doing. And it's been important this entire time. I don't care if people look at a stat in the box score and they're like, oh, he had 60 yards. Yeah, but those were tough 60 yards. Against the Browns, man, and against other teams, he was, those were hard yards to come by, and he did it. And so, yeah, he's a key player to watch for me.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think, Javonte Williams in my mind always has an impact.
Yeah.
I'm glad you put him up as your players to watch just because I'm curious to see, how often is he going to be used? Will there be a time where Peyton does go away from the running game? Again, I still want to see the Broncos committed to the run to a degree. But then this may be a game, you have P. Ryan coming in just as we've seen with P. Ryan coming in and catching those passes and helping block. So it may be more of a bigger game for P. Ryan. But yeah, to your point on if we're looking for pound ground straight running, Javonte Williams is your guy. So that's a great one. My next player to watch Adam Troutman. Just because I want to see, again, the Broncos use the middle of the field, attack the middle of the field. And, we've seen that with Troutman in several of these games, how he was wide open in zone and Russ found him. So, using that, more, I think, against, this bottom ranked defense of the Texans will be good. So yeah, that's my next player to watch out for in this game.
Well, my last one is Russell Wilson. And the reason why I say that is because everybody is now starting to talk about what I've been talking about for the last several weeks, which is the Broncos have been facing tough defenses, especially pass defenses. It's taken some time for Russell Wilson to really get in the groove when it comes to Sean Payton's offense. They're obviously clicking. He's clicking. You're going to see a bigger game from Russell Wilson this week. You're going to see one of those games where you're like, okay, that's the Russell Wilson that we all thought we'd see this year, but we haven't seen because he's been a game manager, so to speak. But that's what the game's dictated. Now you're going to see that offense open up because those defenses aren't as stingy. You're going to see different play selections. You're going to see a different style of offense from Sean Payton. You're going to let him open it up, and you're going to see Russell Wilson be a really big factor in this game. In fact, I'm going to go to my stats right now. I'm expecting him to be like 24 of 34 with 295 yards and a couple touchdowns throwing. That's what I'm expecting from Russell Wilson in this game.
Nice. I like it. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Big game. It should be a big game for us. Again, this is the opportunity for that. So that's a great one. My last player to watch, I alluded to him earlier, Fabian Moreau. The reason why so Fabian Moreau, just some numbers for you guys. Fabian Moreau has allowed a 57.9 passer rating when being targeted this season. That's per Pro Football Focus. So he's been, somewhat doing his thing this year for sure when it comes to coverage. But, I just want to see some of these coverages. I'm not sure how Lance Joseph, because I guess Nico Collins is their number one, but then, Tank Dell has had an explosion. So I'm just not sure how that's going to face. But, even with that, I want to see kind of how Fabian Moreau faces up with some of these receivers in coverage. We know Tank Dell and his explosion. Can he come and help with pass breakups, even with Robert Woods? So that's kind of what I'm looking at from a Fabian Moreau. He's been playing well, Thomas, as we've seen, coming in there, making impact plays. I think he had the interception against Josh Allen with the Buffalo game. So kind of want to see more of that aggression from Fabian Moreau, especially with these pass catchers.
Nice. I'm going to go to another stats guy. We alluded to him earlier. Is your key to the game, Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy, to me, is finally going to have a game that we all have been waiting for him this year. He's going to have 8 catches, 100. He's going to break the century mark and have a touchdown. Jerry Jeudy, yard after catch. You're going to see him. You're going to see him come up big, unexpectedly so. I know Sutton's going to get his catches. Mims will get a couple. They might mix in Brandon Johnson. I think Jerry Jeudy's finally going to come out of his shell, so to speak, and have one of those games that we want to see from Jerry Jeudy, first-round pick. I know people are down on him. I know he hasn't played great, but I think this is a game that he can get his mojo back a little.
Yeah, good one. One of my players that I have for a stat projection, Brandon Johnson. Again, probably not going to have the Star Wars numbers because, again, I do think that, they're going to ease him back into the fold, especially coming off that injury. But, expect times that he's open. And, again, he has 3 receiving touchdowns on this team. So my numbers are a little low for him, but again, I think with all these receivers, they can make an impact. So I have 3 receptions on 5 targets for about 40 yards, and I have a touchdown for him as well. I think he's going to be just wide open in the end zone, and Russ will find him. So that's one of my projections.
That'd be a great game for him coming back from IR to get that touchdown. He'd be the second leading touchdown still if he does that. That's great. My last guy, before we get into the injury report and before we get into our score predictions, I know you think you have one more, but Zach Allen going against the rookie should have a big game. He's been close so often to getting sacks, and when I see him getting 2 sacks, if they don't give Juice Scruggs any help, he's going to get 2 sacks, and he's going to have a batted ball, and he's going to be one of the stars on that defense because he's an explosive player that can get to the quarterback, and he's been narrowly missing. So I'm excited for his game. I think he's been well worth the money.
Nice. And my last player, one of my guys on defense, Baron Browning. Browning, yes. I have him at 4 total tackles, 2 solo, 2 assisted, and 2 sacks. I think this is going to be a very effective game from Baron Browning. Again, that offensive line for the Houston Texans, they've, again, a lot of them are out. They do have their second, third strings there. So, I do expect Baron Browning to come in and feast. But yeah, a 2-sack game for Mr. Browning.
Yep. RD's coming in with super chat. Thanks for the support, RD, saying, great show all. Makes Saturday night shift more bearable. Yeah, I'm sorry you have to work on a Saturday night. It's one of those things, but I'm glad we can definitely help out in your work, making it a little bit more easy. So appreciate it. Thanks for the support for sure.
Thank you.
And Phil McLaughlin's coming in with Facebook stars also saying, let's special team player of the month. I'm hoping that for a change, he gets a break and we actually score TDs in the red zone. I'm with you. I'm right there with you. I hope we get to see the Broncos do that too. So thank you so much.
We just want extra points. Yeah, we just want some extra points. No field goals.
That's right. Is that your last stat prediction?
Yeah, that was
okay. Now it's time. Well, we'll grab the injury report first. It's just super easy. Everybody that was on the injury report except for one is all full go, which is amazing. And plus, they got Brandon Johnson back from IR, so they seem to be getting healthier as the year goes on, which is great. But Damari Mathis, who's had his struggles for sure, is questionable. So he's kind of up in the air. I think he was a light participant, but we shall see if he plays or not. My guess is, they've been kind of moving to Riley Moss a little bit more. So if he is injured, you're going to see a little bit more of Riley Moss maybe and with Mathis inactive. So hopefully he heals up and starts to play a little bit better. But all right, let's get into some predictions because we've got some coming in here now. We've got Doug's coming in with 31-20 Broncos, which is good. We've got Rodney Garcia, 31-27 Broncos. I think I saw one out back here, but now I can't find it. Oh, Mr. O coming in with 32-27 Broncos pull out a W. And Joe Mannix is saying 31-28 Texans. Oh man, you're buzz killing us. Usually I'm the one that's the buzz killer. Everybody says I'm the doubter, but I hope not. But it's one of those games where you never know. You never know who can pull it out. Phil McLaughlin, 21-17 Broncos, and Keith is coming in 28-17 Broncos. And the last one here that I see is Douglas, 33-17 Broncos. All right. Well, my prediction
with 14-9 Broncos. There's a few
of them. We're getting a lot in here. We're getting a lot. All right.
Yeah.
They're really coming
in. Well, 27-17 Denver. And then Ronnie's predicting Broncos with 2 takeaways. All right. That's some great.
Yeah. And Jonathan's saying 21-14 Broncos. Well, here's my prediction. And you can go read about all of the Mile High staff writers' predictions on milehighhuddle.com because we do that roundtable every week. But I'm tired of doubting. I doubted him last week. I'm not going to doubt him anymore. And maybe I'll go down with the ship. Who knows? But I say the Broncos win pretty handily, 31-20, because their offense is going to start clicking and they're going to, the other sides of the ball are still going to be complimentary. And the Broncos are going to make a statement with a pretty solid win.
Nice. I like it. So, yeah, for my prediction, I do expect for the Denver Broncos offense to open up. This is the game to do so. And although CJ Stroud, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, and D'Amico Ryan, they've been doing a very good job with the Houston Texans, I think there's still a lot of youth there, still a lot of newness. And this Broncos defense, as of late, has been known, with their coverages to be more aggressive, to rip the ball away, to get interceptions. So I think the Broncos are going to knock Stroud off his spot a bit. And again, with the offense of the Broncos opening up, I do expect the Broncos victory as well. So my final score is 28 Broncos, 23 Texans.
All right, having a coughing fit here. We had 227-24 Broncos. We got some good mojo going here. Money Moore is saying it's going to be an overtime victory, 23-17. Nice. That'll be exciting. And Guaranteed is just flat out saying they're going to whip them 20-3. Go Broncos. Nice. All right. Wonderful. So most of us are jumping on the Broncos winning bandwagon, so to speak, and I'm sticking with it because Ron, I said if they could beat the Bills and the Chiefs, they're gonna run the table, go to the playoffs. So I might as well just pick them to win the rest of the time and see if I'm right. So
yeah.
I just gotta stick with it. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being in here on your Saturday night. I know it's not easy to come in and spend your Saturday night with us, but we really do appreciate it. Yes. You can follow Ron on Twitter at Ron White NFL. So go check it out during the week. Talk to him about football. He's more than willing to do so. I am as well, Thomas Hall NFL. And also go to the milehighhuddle.com. You can find our articles out there, and I'm looking for, you can get merchandise too, but I just, for some reason, can't find the merchandise. What the merchandise website is. I can't find it. Somewhere in here, but of course we're here by ourselves, so it's hard to find. But anyway, there's merchandise if you want it for all Mile High Huddle, so go check it out. But all right, Ron, final words before we wrap up this pregame show that we love so much.
Yes, so again, it's been great talking with all of you tonight. Very good conversation as always on Saturday. And again, think of this as a playoff game for your Denver Broncos, and it should be a good and exciting game tomorrow, especially on offense. Again, I'm really looking forward to that. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, guys. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this offense opens up. So, much love to everyone. Thank you.
Yeah. And Sean Brian Waldrich is coming in with a Facebook star sticker. So thank you very much for that. Appreciate the late support for this show. Sparky Vibes is doing the 71-0 again. So far you've been right on the wins for sure. Not quite the score, but you know what? It would be awesome. It would be awesome to see that happen. I really hope it does. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And 11 o'clock tomorrow, Mountain Time, going down to Houston, see if these Broncos can get a win and control their playoff destiny. So thank you very much. Have a great evening, everyone. And we'll talk to you next Saturday. Thank you.
Go Broncos.